Hey, this is another edition of Real Talk. Today we talk about the psychology of success. The question, what makes a person successful? The question is interesting. The question's fascinating, but even more interesting is the answers that people often give. She's so brilliant. He's a great guy. He's a natural leader. Or she's a genius, as if it was something to do with her genealogy or her genes, as if she'd won the DNA lottery, so to speak. But the reality is that skills like intelligence, skills like the ability to lead, to be creative, are some things that can be manipulated. Our creativity, our intelligence, our social skills, our attitudes, these are things that can be manipulated. And when I say manipulated, I don't mean it in a loaded way. I mean it in the neutral way. Manipulated meaning it can be increased, it can be improved, it can be worked upon. Attitude is everything when it comes to success. And there's a famous saying, failure is not fatal. So it's a psychological makeup or the ingredients or the constituents that we put at practice that best serves us if we want to be successful. Our psychology serves us. Now that can be in the business world, that can be in the social world, that can be in different aspects of our life. How you judge success is subjective. And it's about what your goals are and what your aims are that is going to determine what you count as successful. But let's just say that your desire for success is to be the best version of what you can be. So you're only competing against yourself and you're not competing against the next person. One of the things they teach you in the business world about psychology is you will inhabit or experience a certain mind frame even based on your body posture. And this is why they say that, like, when somebody is going to lead people who have business coaches and they are going to be leading a meeting, for example, presenting a very, very important paper or, to submit for a project, they say, be aware of your body posture. Inhibit a certain body posture that is positive, because not only is it going to reflect well externally, but also it actually internally influences your own psychological makeup. Just like when they say, if you frown or if you scowl, that can, for periods of time, that can actually affect the chemicals in your body or affect your state of mind or your hormonal level almost. And if you smile and you be positive and you be open, that this can also influence the way that you feel. And if you feel in a certain way and you think in a certain way, then it's likely that you're going to perform in a certain way. So this is one of the things that business coaches are always pushing, is being aware of the power posture or being aware of your body posture. They also say that you should, before meetings, before big presentations, before basically putting your best foot forward and presenting, that you should avoid electronic devices, particularly the smaller that have you sitting in the hallway preparing for this business meeting, hunched up over your phone, whichever brand of phone it is, but just hunched up over your phone, trying to memorize and trying to assimilate all this last minute information. That this is one of the things that you shouldn't do before an important presentation. Be mindful of your facial expressions. As I mentioned before, that even when you smile or you exude a certain facial expression, that this can affect the hormonal level and the chemicals in your body to a certain degree. And again, how you feel is how you perform. And also, don't be afraid to be yourself, to let your personality. You can't just be this clone, but you're trying to be the best you, ultimately, not trying to be the best somebody else. But for some reason in this society, in particularly amongst Brits, we have this idea that we think that things are innate. But no, those who provide the information in the business world, particularly the school of NLP or neuro-linguistic programming, they suggest that these behavioral traits are things that we can learn. Just like how we can learn a skill like to ride a bike, or we can learn a skill how to ride a skateboard, for example, when we're a child, because we are let's say we haven't learned to be fearful of failing. So one of the beautiful things about children is that they will try new things, and they have adventure, and they have that spirit of adventure to go out and try things differently, and that's how they learn. But they say that when we become adults, that because of how we've internalized when we haven't been successful at certain times, we've internalized that, and then we've limited ourselves. So in truth, the only walls that exist are the ones that you erect for yourself. So you limit yourself. So if failure isn't fatal, I mean, failure can be fatal. If you fail to pull your parachute out, for example, in time, then that can be a fatality. But in the generic sense, in the general sense, if you go for the job and you didn't get in, you went for the top university and you didn't get in, you weren't successful at that particular juncture in your life. But it's the mindset, the attitude, the learning, what you take away. If you failed at this particular juncture and you internalize that and you reflect on that and say, what can I improve, or how can I be the best me? That is the difference between those who ultimately succeed in the long haul. What am I willing to give? Not what am I willing to take? Not what do I just want, but for what I want, how much am I willing to pay with time, with effort, with due diligence? So like I said before, no genetic lottery. It is not a matter of luck. There are steps to success, and this is psychological makeup that we have to employ if we want to be the best version of ourselves. So what am I talking about? First question, what strategies, this is a question you have to ask yourself, what strategies can you employ to improve your game in the particular field or the particular sphere that you're trying to improve upon? Whatever that is, what are the strategies? And techniques. Are you able to be honest with yourself, have an honest appraisal of the situation, and an honest, objective as possible, appraisal of your skills and your abilities to overcome the task? Not undermining yourself when you do in fact have those skills, or not overinflating your ego and saying that I can do this when you haven't really brushed up on your game. The other thing is being able to recognize temptations. What do I say temptations? Temptations in terms of going down a road that is unhelpful because it feels good. That's what I mean when I say temptation. Sometimes there's things what feel good, like taking time out or procrastinating or having a break, for example, when sticking to the work plan, sticking to the goal would be the best thing in terms of improving in the sphere of success that you determine, that subjective success, being the best version of yourself. Do you plan ahead? This is something that we can take for granted, but sometimes we're not successful, not because, again, going back to the genealogy or the gene or being a genius, not because we didn't have those qualities innately, but we just didn't plan. We didn't take the time to plan. The specific steps that we take. If you fail to plan, then you plan to fail. It's the saying that we hear over and over again, but knowing something and employing it is two different things. Do we monitor our progress or absence of progress? Whatever the case is, do we monitor that? We've got to have SMART goals. They've got to be specific. They've got to be measurable. They've got to be achievable. They've got to be realistic, and they've got to be time bound. Because if we just say we want to be better, how do we measure that better? Our performance in the particular, like I said, in the business world, in the academic sphere, in our social life. If we want to make more social acquaintances, if we want to strike that better deal and get that contract, whatever the case may be. But that's what we're working towards. And we have to ask ourselves, what level of tenacity, what level of determination are we able to bring to the table and persist when the going gets tough? Because that's what separates the wheat from the chaff. Not the genealogy, not the genius, but the willingness to persist. It's been a pleasure, as always. Been a total pleasure, as always. And I'll see you next time for another edition of The Real.